on the eliminate deluded karma to escape suffering. So here we go, and the initial verse. By learning and practicing the teachings of the path, we attain freedom. Freedom meaning liberation out of samsara. The two things here is learning and practicing. So we cannot just know with our mind. We need to practice, and this practicing part of it is to grow into the higher consciousness, so that this progress or the gradual self-development in one person is being taken on to the next life. And it's important to understand that, because this journey is not a one lifetime journey, it's a multiple lifetime journey. So we got to be able to cultivate in this lifetime to be able to take on next lifetime to where we have left off. By understanding suffering, we end causation. And this is the part about the truth of suffering, the Four Noble Truth. Then we end the causation, and then the cease of suffering, the true alms, and do not seek the rebirth in samsara. When we eliminate the related actions, we can practice the path to free ourselves from suffering. And this liberation from suffering is the out of samsara. But because we have taken on bodies of the path, we still return back to the shore of samsara to help liberate sentient beings. And that's the one we have taken. So when our resolve meets with the path, we will reach the ocean of enlightenment. And this the resolve is to take on the religion practice and not to deviate. Then we will be able to reach the ocean of enlightenment. And this obviously take over many, many lifetimes. So in Master's explanation, we learn the Buddha's way for the sake of our minds. So if we do a good job in training our minds, we are true practitioners of the path. So for the sake of our mind, so the path, Buddhism is about the cultivation of our mind. And the doorway to our mind is through the heart. So until the heart is virtuous, it's hard to tame the mind. So you see, virtues is the one that tames the mind. So if you remember the four right efforts, right? So is it whatever is unwholesome has not a reason prevent it from arising. You see, that prevention from an unwholesome thought from arising can only come when you have virtues of the heart. Unless that happens, it's quite difficult to prevent an unwholesome thought that arises. So if we listen and apply the Dharma to our lives, we'll continue to behave and speak and behave and speak with a habitude. If we do not, if we listen and do apply the Dharma in our lives, we'll continue. This the other way. We will continue to behave and speak without our habitual tendency. This means Dharma is not one with our minds. So if we do not listen and we listen and do not apply the Dharma in our lives, so this is the part that the right efforts that we need to apply in our Dharma. So if we do not apply that in ourselves, then we will continue to speak in a way that that would not be virtuous. So therefore, these habitual tendencies would continue to arise. And this is why we need to be able to practice with a higher consciousness. So we must eliminate the actions and practice the path to free ourselves from suffering. We need to practice the path to realize the fruit. Only by realizing the fruit can we transcend suffering. So what is this fruit that we realize? So this fruits that realization, first of all, you got the budding, then you got the flowering and the blossom, and then eventually the fruition of what we practice. So this process of realization of the fruit will grow in us, and this one have to go over many lifetimes. And this is the part about realizing the truth, and this is the ultimate truth and the universal truth. So one truth that you realize will give you to another truth, and so it's like a flower blossoming slowly, petal by petals. So to attain a state where we do not lean or seek anything, that means you are already standing on your own. We need to realize the truth of cessation. So this part, obviously, then you have realized the whole truth. And then this truth of cessation, that you have ceased all your afflictions and you continue the progress and to attain the supreme enlightenment. Then on relationships, we have, obviously, for us, especially householders, we have interpersonal relationship and we do have conflicts as a result of that. So we apply the Dharma and then we need to be mindful of the issues. And so this is what it is, because our feelings will come about, is overshadow about the issue of conflicts. We always talk about the emotional conflicts that arises from us. So that shrouds the issues, and we never resolve the issues, and we find ways and reasons as to why the other person has a fault. But if we understand that, then our conflicts will disappear, and then we will be in harmony with all others. So this is the two things in here. One is the desire in our heart, which I explained earlier, and this is what we have to cultivate in virtues. And here about conflicts is that actually a lot of it is about the emotion of the mind. And so this ego will always arise that I am right. And so therefore, when we practice, again, to apply the four right efforts, so that we understand and be aware of where our inner self that arises. And that is the consciousness that you need to grow into a higher level, which is the spiritual consciousness. So the mundane consciousness, which will take over, will always be responding to the sounds and the noises of the world. And the spiritual consciousness will practice in stillness and silence. Thus, we need to guard against wrongs and stop evil. And these are precepts that you need to undertake. And the flawless study, and obviously this precept, the samadhi and the wisdom, then you need to practice, and then you'll be able to graduate from that. So this story of Upagupta, which I won't be repeating, but very briefly, and it was he lived 100 years after the Buddha, and obviously then he went to see the bhikkhuni, and obviously, and what the bhikkhuni wanted to teach him was about how strict the practice was during the time of the Buddha. So, and this is about the consciousness of our practice. Now, unless we are consciousness of ourselves, we know ourselves. Unless we know ourselves, it's very hard. We don't even know how we are practicing. And I think in Tzu Chi, you all have done very well. And every time you go to the Jingxi Hall online up, and when you turn, I still remember when I first took up the Jiangxi, and we got to rock exactly 90 degrees right angles when we turn. So there's plenty of practice in there. And the only thing is that all this mindfulness, we need to bring forth the practice in our daily life. So the lessons learned, we must understand suffering in order to put an end to causation. And this causation is, unless this causation is different from every one of us. That's why the karmic blueprint for every one of us is different. So we need to learn from our own life so that we understand and purify our thoughts. So then only then we can free ourselves from our own ignorance, because without understanding that, we can never be able to free ourselves. So if you realize the truth of cessation, then once this life is over, obviously when you say realize the truth of cessation, it means you are able to eliminate all your past causes and all your past karmic seeds. Then we will need no further existence. There's no further rebirth that we will take on. So therefore, if we have reached the realize the truth of cessation, and if you were to take the rebirth, that rebirth is by choice. This is the difference between one that rebirth that takes place because of a karma, one that rebirth that takes place because of choice, and that is what bodhisattvas do, and that is called reincarnation. And they will take on this rebirth and to help liberate sentient beings. So those who are familiar with Vajrayana Buddhism, for example, the 14th Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama we have right now is the 14th Dalai Lama, meaning he's the 14th reincarnation from the first Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama is believed to be the reincarnation of Kuan Yin. Okay, so there are also other what you call reincarnation or different forms of Maitreya Buddha, which is Tai Siu Tao Rinpoche, and so others as well. Okay, so we won't go into that, but this is what the difference between a reincarnation and a rebirth. So when a resolve meets the path, we reach the ocean of enlightenment, and this is what we need to do with very diligent in our practice. So in this elimination of the karma in contemplation, the thing is that there is no bad person who knows that one is bad. I'm not sure whether you come across any bad person who say one is bad, but I think that is because this is the delusion of the mind. You see, one who lives in darkness does not know that one is in darkness. There is no deluded person who knows that one is deluded either. And because we do not know our own delusion. So only the realized one does. And this is what Master is trying to teach us, that we have to apply the Dharma. And then so that we grow in consciousness. It's only when you grow in consciousness that you begin to know yourself. Therefore, get to know yourself. So on relationship, harmonizing with others does not mean that you dance to the tune and noise of others. Respond to the tune of the seekers, because we are the seekers of the truth. So do not react to the noise of the disruptors. Okay, Gan En, brother and sister, thank you.
Yeah, Gan En so much, Brother Chin, for all the marvelous sharing. Okay, Brother Chin need to lead us, with us. Can we all on our video for those who are convenient? And Sister YY will do the honor to our compulsory group photo taking. Otherwise, Sister Irene will not be happy. The complete process